Welcome back to our weekly Q&A.
Hi, guys.
I'm Johnny.
And I'm Amy.
If you didn't know that by now.
Where have you been?
And we are following up on the epic Killing Field episode. Season 4, Episode 5. So if you are not caught up to Season 4, Episode 5, get the heck out of here. Go. Get out. Get out there and all the bad soundiness. All right. No more field trips. Spoilers are out of the way. Let's get into the questions.
First question today comes from Sarah Bushyhead. I'm assuming that we'll find out in the next episode that the last 5 minutes of this episode was all just a big dream. Brought on by eating a convenience store burrito at 2 a.m. Right? That's it.
You nailed it.
Isn't it? If not, WTF.
Heck yeah. I don't know exactly where Sarah is off the top of my head, but it's one of those big, nasty, like, Valero burritos.
Ew.
It brings on hallucinations. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next question, because they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do. And that question is by Miss Rose. Wait, what? WTF? Did Eddie do?
What did you do, Edward?
What the fuck did you do?
Dawn says, is Eddie now more powerful than Johnny? I mean, did Johnny really go there thinking he was just going to be able to kill Eddie with no issues? So I figured we'd lump all three of these questions kind of together. The burrito fever dream, the WTFs, and the more really Johnny just thought he was going to be able to go there. I think Johnny really thought he could save him.
Yeah, I think he went there with good intentions.
Initially, and I'm pretty sure that Eddie thought that's what was going to happen. Like, after Emmett got with him earlier in the episode, like, go to the killing field. There's only one person left that loves you, and they'll be there.
Yeah.
I mean, who else would it be? So I think when Johnny comes out and he's just like, hey, the moon, trying to break the ice, and he's like, don't you step any further. I think he was really just trying to, in his own twisted mind, oh, he stepped over that line, so hey, I told him not to. It's his fault he died, not mine.
Yeah.
I really think in that moment that Johnny was gonna try to, like, bring him back. And then I don't think Johnny realized how bad it really was.
I don't
until
think
he saw
did
him.
Either.
He's like, what face? Oh, what did they do to you?
What did they do to you?
So yeah, I
think guilt started to set in with Johnny there as well too, like a whole mixture of feelings.
Totally. But no, man, Johnny Stitches is dead. So
it is the final season.
Yeah. And I got a couple of private questions that didn't make it to the public forums, and plus some people I work with and things like that were asking me questions, and it seemed like the general consensus on it was, why would you kill him? And the main thing is, he's not the main character.
No.
I know it feels because his stage name, or my stage name, is his real name in the story, so it feels like, oh, well, that's the creator's name, or the name he's given this character, but this is the Matthew Finnish, Joey Trauma, Eddie Vial story, and it always has been. It's just we have a whole lot of anthology episodes and things like that, so sometimes it doesn't feel that way. But, yeah, unfortunately, it's not a burrito fever dream, and what the fuck, Eddie, and, yeah, I mean, you're right, Don, like, what was he thinking just going there? I mean, he really didn't think that through.
I don't think he did either, and he probably didn't realize exactly where Eddie was at or what he had went through, like, because he could shield himself from him.
Right.
So he didn't really know what he was going into. He just knew that he had to try. Right. All right, so our next question comes from Bill Armentrout. Is Eddie completely unstoppable now?
It certainly feels that way.
Yeah, it does.
I really think that Johnny could have took him out.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. I really do. I think that in that moment when he realized that he was lost, he was really going to try to take him out. what Johnny underestimated was Eddie's power of like being able to bring all those girls up out of the ground and raise them from the killing field. And when he does that, Johnny has to exert this energy. Like we hear, you know, 8 or 9 of them talking back and forth, but there's like a swirl of voices. There's literally like 50 or 60 bodies all up at once coming at him. Just a legion of undead women, you know, from Eddie's father throughout what Eddie had done. So even though most of these are like decrepit skeletons and things like that, they're still coming at him, and he has to unleash like everything he has in him to level that field. Then that makes it so easy for Eddie to land the killing blow on him, because even if he could muster defense, he's emotionally broken by what Eddie's doing to him and just feeling like he's failed. He's physically exerted to the point of like barely being able to stay on his feet or get to his feet. And so I think that it might feel like Eddie is completely unstoppable, but I wouldn't put it past, you know, like what powers, I don't know, the, you know, Trinity, Malik, and all those guys teamed up with Sirenicide can do, and Joey, and I just think it's going to be interesting to see where it goes post Johnny, because, you know, he was what held that whole faction together. So I guess we'll see. We're not even halfway through the season yet.
Nope.
So, but no, I don't think he's completely unstoppable. I think it just kind of it feels that way in this moment.
It really feels that way, though.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like Johnny just walked in there and wanted to kill him. He would have just killed him. He wouldn't even have had a chance to like reach out. And I think Eddie knew that. He's going to come in here and try to save me, and I'm going to use that against him. You know.
I think Eddie had anger behind him.
Yeah. Well, it's
like
his,
that adrenaline anger rush.
And it's because Johnny used the trigger word, Lena. That's you don't do that. Our next question comes from Brandon Greer. So can Johnny come back? Joey was able to do it in the past, but it may be more complex for Johnny. Is he going to Obi-Wan it and become more powerful? So I answered him through the text. Johnny and Eddie together brought, you know, Matt back. And we do answer some of these questions via text, but I want to kind of elaborate on it. So, yeah, Johnny and Eddie together brought Joey back.
Yes.
Or brought Matthew Finnis back as Joey Trauma. It took 2 necromancers to fuse augmented power and different body parts from other people to put this Frankenstein together.
Yes.
So this was like a major undertaking. I really think Doc thought he had just killed this body and sent it. So I'm sure that impressed Doc, but Doc knows like what Johnny's capable of. But in that moment, I think Doc also probably realized that other necromancing light I feel here, this must have been their powers combined. So Johnny, I don't know, man. I don't think you come back from this one. I mean, it's not like Eddie's gonna be like, "Oops, I'm sorry. Hey, Joey, Molly, you guys want to let's team up and see if we."
Yeah, we really haven't.
Who's another necromancer? Who else can build resurgence? Johnny is the resurgent builder. That's like his resurgent class is like what he builds. So it certainly feels that way. And as far as Obi wanting it, I don't think there's an augment ghost. I don't think that. There are augment ghosts, but I don't think they matter as much in our universe. It's not like the Force. It doesn't really work like that. So, like in episode 2, season 1, episode 2, when Bernstein kid hears the ghost, it's coming through the augment.
The suffering loop.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, reenacting her death where she's caught on some weird loop. Technically, that's a ghost in our world, and it's through that veil caught jammed between the dead realm and our realm, and this kid can see it because the trauma he's endured has opened his eyes up to this augment. But I'm sure there's other parts in our world. I know there's other parts in our world where ghosts and spirits and wraiths and things like that exist, but I don't think they, you know, it's not going to be, I can't see Johnny like appearing in like this glowing form being like, lift me up and go forth Joey and Molly and you guys.
Like hovering over them as they're
Yeah, exactly.
fixing them.
The augment will be with you always. But it's a good parallel. Good question though too, because I mean that treads a little too close to the wars for me.
And another one from Rose. Did Molly leave Scary on her own volition, or was she forced by someone/something?
No, she left on her own volition.
On her own.
She got tired of them bickering back and forth. She wasn't gonna wait on some committee or something to decide what they should and shouldn't do.
No,
and this
she
and that.
was
She's
just
like, I'm gone.
Going to action.
You know, she don't care what time they entered and what time they had. Like Joey was analyzing. Well, it might be this time now, and then Emmett's like, well, if it's that time, then she's like, I'm done. Let's just go.
And another question from Bill Armentrout. Can you give a little bit more detailed description of the killing fields?
Yeah. These are the killing fields, which is the area that we based this story off of. So this is an area in League City between Webster and Dickinson, if you're looking on a map. You can hear it, but way out past those houses is Highway 45. And then this is like a memorial area. You can see all the ribbons on the trees for the victims from between 1970 all the way to 2006. So it's a real deal, man. When they first opened the investigation on all this stuff, they thought it was just one killer. And then it turned out that just the span of years between it and the different ways the victims were found and stuff, that it had to be more than one killer. And it turned out that they think it was just a dumping site, because a lot of the people were picked up from Galveston and so forth. But anyway, we thought we'd actually come out and break from the fiction that we do, horror fiction, and unfortunately there is horror reality. But so if you ever want to come by and pay your respects to the real killing fields of Texas, it's this area here. It is off of Calder Road, right off of Highway 45. And we'll put a link in the description to more about the history. Felt a little disrespectful to talk about the fictional elements of the killing field episode in the actual killing fields.
Yeah.
So we just had to come into our own backyard. Even though it's scary how close we are to that place we were just in.
Yeah, it took us less than 5 minutes to get there.
Right. So, as far as the continuity, we had Eddie. His cabin is in the middle of a killing field, and it's based off of that one. It's really, it really hits you actually being in the spot versus like just reading up on it on the internet or watching videos on the internet. Because I remember we were sitting around the writer's room table originally, we were talking about, there's those killing fields that are in our area, so we'll look into that a little more, and we'll have, Eddie be responsible for some of that or something. And that's kind of as deep as we got into it. But it's, I think it's time to go back to our happy, warm little box.
Yeah. Let's go to the box.
All right, we're back. Okay, so our next question comes from Duncan McPherson. So what exactly is the Red Death? Energy from the augment that kills humans and reanimates them as demonic beast? It pretty much reanimates them as what we call dusters. Dusters are a very aggressive undead creature, but not of the dead realm. The soul fire is lit in the augment. So the augment is between all realms. We talked about that a little bit, I think, in another video. And this is basically using that as like a conduit filled with like lighter fluid to just, she ignites one and it just starts spreading constantly. And because it's this force between realms, no oceans, no barriers, nothing can stop it, you know. So I mean, if it catches into the other worlds, what will it do there? That's what they're trying to, they're kind of working towards. I think right now is just trying to get it to catch and scary and things like that. And I think that's why Theobald, when I say he's come to help her because she could not get that to click.
Yeah.
She could synthesize this Red Death and make it, but couldn't get it to keep catching. Like it'd probably catch over to maybe the neighbor and then it would stop. It wouldn't keep going. And when we hear the test in the previous episode, which is I think what you're referencing, when you hear them, all the DE elders and that's it finally working. So not only that, she's found a way through God knows what kind of apparatus they're in that it doesn't jump back onto them. So she's found a way to control it in our world and channel the soul fire and like basically direct it.
Ooh, that's
So
scary.
I mean, she has control of like the plague to end everything.
Yeah, that's really scary.
But yeah, as far as the creatures, they're just I don't want to say they're mindless, but they want to devour. You know, your stereotypical zombie that wants to just consume, and it's just kind of consuming in a different way. Like, I don't think they're doing it for like guttural hunger as much as it's just they're programmed to destroy, and they're a whole lot more in the vein of like the 28 Days Later kind of zombies. Like they're fast. They're not like the Walking Dead kind of zombies. We're like, we're gonna get you. I mean, it's just they're quick, but they do have a weakness, which you said trigger the water of the sprinklers. So water is their weakness. So it destroys them. All right. Well, now that we're back in our comfy box, let's move on to our next question.
From Duncan. So Doc's body is disintegrating, and he doesn't like changing shells. So how long can Doc go before having to find a new host? Do the shells age like normal people or just disintegrate after a number of years?
Wow. Okay. So Doc said he found the current shell he's in the 50s during the Korean War.
Yes.
So it's 2019. So if he found this guy in the Korean War, I would say they do not age like normal people.
No.
But I would say that this flesh form is holding this just ancient power within it, and it starts eroding it from the inside. Is kind of the way that we've it's called age degradation, is what we've coined it in our world. And him being a being, he's very easily able to repair that. And Johnny even says, "I used to repair it for you." So basically, he had Johnny who can repair living and dead flesh, kind of like, oh, this one's starting to crack. Okay, cool, thanks. Using his luminescent abilities to help repair Doc. So Doc, I'm assuming when Doc and Johnny split around the 20s, I think we were saying, because we know in 1928 they're no longer together.
Yes.
And we know in 1917 they were in World War I together.
Yes.
So somewhere in that time, they split. So whatever body Doc was inhabiting at that point, I think is somewhere different than the Doc that we met with Nancy, but also not the Doc we know here. So there's a Doc we've never heard, I think, within the story somewhere. And Johnny was probably repairing the Doc that we hear with Nancy, and then eventually there was a transference. He repaired that one, then they split. So I think he tells Theobald, find me a better soldier of his time. So it feels like the body he's in right now, he didn't have a choice. And he's like, wait, this one's a American soldier. Will that work? Yes, that's fine. Let's do this. Hurry. I feel like whatever body he was in, he had to get out of because it was deteriorating that quickly. So I'd say probably with the help of Johnny, he could probably get 50 to 70 years out of a shell. Without Johnny, probably 40 to 50 years,
I would think it would also have to go with how much he's using.
His powers and
how much strain he's putting on it.
Right.
Would play into that as well.
Yeah. So that should be pretty interesting. The cool thing is you're going to get to really dive into that aspect of it all later in the season.
Yes. Now we have a question from Alberto de Jesus. What flashback episode would you explore or expand into a full mini arc?
So I guess by mini arc he's saying something like Wolf Moon and Theobald, because up until then those were kind of like mini series.
Yeah.
A mini series. Oh man, I think my favorite aspect to really dive into that I haven't got a whole lot of chance to play in is the vampires.
Yeah.
I would love to explore their covens and their cults, their cliques, because we touched on that a little bit in this season because you could tell I got kind of really anxious not being able to explore it more, but it's not explored the way it should be, and I think it could be done in a mini episode format.
I think so.
That's mine. What's yours? What would you want to see us touch on or cover or character or
Oh
mini
man,
episodes?
I feel like there's like so much territory that we could go into, but I think I'm gonna lean more towards like the supernatural stuff as well, like exploring what more is out there in the universe, not so much a specific character or anything like that, like just expanding the universe a little bit more.
Like ghosts and things, or
Like if there's like the yellow eyes.
okay, like more of the supernatural creatures and
Yes,
stuff. That
like
inhabit.
how they
That's
came
cool.
about, that kind of thing. Like I feel like if we have Doogie and we have yellow eyes, what else is out there lurking?
Right. That's cool. That's really good.
And our final question comes from Rose. Is the Camaro Kid playing the background music?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is this episode he did a really good job on. That ending track.
Yes.
The doo-doo-doo-doo, like where it fades into that, especially after such a brutal scene of the way Christina did the hit.
Yeah.
Like when the axe comes down for the death blow and it just gets all quiet, you would think, we're just going to do like we did with Joey, like there was firecrackers and then it goes into the all elements message and then it's done.
It's just done.
But this one's like, doom. And then it just kind of, it was really cool. He did a really good job on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Really good job building the tension. And he's way more into like the arpeggiated synth music than I am. So
Yeah.
it really shows and really shines.
He did a really good job. He'd like read the script and then write the music based off of what he thought it should be like. So at the time he was 11 when he wrote this?
That was during the summer, right before his birthday.
So, I mean, pretty impressed with the kid.
Yeah. And I keep saying it. We're going to be doing a couple ICE episodes following up season 4 once it's out of the way. And one of them is going to be with him. All right. Well, that does it for questions for this week's Q&A. I hope you enjoyed all the special things, including our field trip. And we'll be back next week with Q&A. So if you have any questions, again, about today's episode or any of the episodes past, feel free to put them in the comments here on the YouTube video. Or if you're a patron, you can ask them at any time to take priority in the Patreon group or on the Patreon page. Just $1 a month gets you access to our Patreon. And we do a whole lot, not just for that. We just released that we're going to be doing monthly movie reviews. So our first movie watch will be in November and our first review will be in November.
That should be fun.
So you get to vote on that and suggest movies and things like that for us to watch and put our 2 cents and stuff like that into. Little bitty things like that. Plus the community is excellent. Just for $1 to jump in there to be a part of that. Also, we have physical perks for the higher rewards. Next week's episode is a flashback. So it's a travel back in time. So I apologize for the mini cliffhanger here on what are the other people going to do when they find Johnny's body. But I promise it'll be worth the detour.
Yes. I'm so excited for this one.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.
All elements of Sirenicide are copyright 2019 by Atrium Dynamics. Staring at me.
Well, that's what I do during most of it. And
I
then I
know.
just kind of,
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
That sounds great. It's so funny.
That's funny. All right. I'm in love with the shape of me. What?
Nothing.
That's not how it goes?
No.
Oh, that's how I always sing it at work.